Hey guys, Youngblood with you, and we're continuing along the jump points, leaving the Ellis system, which is a pretty big system, and moving to one of the smaller systems, which is Magnus. The system here is orbiting a dim, low-energy star, and it just didn't have the mass to generate a really large system with a lot of outer planets. In fact, while the system doesn't really have that many planets at all, it also has no gas pockets, no protoplanets, or really any asteroids to speak of. It's just kind of a small system, and they describe the space surrounding Magnus to be some of the most desolate space imaginable. Now, of the three planets here, you have the closest planet to the star, which is Magnus 1, which is a former gas giant whose orbit led it a little too close to the star, where it had its atmosphere just stripped off, leaving just a compact hunk of rock. This hunk of rock, it's filled with highly valuable minerals, including high-grade diamonds that are used in jewelry and in factory operations. The problem with what seems to be a great opportunity of a planet is that the UEE actually owns the mining rights over this planet, and they don't hand out grants to doing mining here all that frequently. So while this is possibly a good place to do some mining and make some bank, the UEE is certainly going to take their cut, even if you can actually get your hands on a mining permit, which is probably not going to be very frequent unless you have some serious pull or maybe a good reputation as a miner. Pirates haven't really been able to establish a base of operations here, probably because if you get between the government and their money, they're likely going to respond. Other than that, there's not a whole lot more to talk about with Magnus 1. Magnus 2, on the other hand, is known as Borea, and is where all the action in this system really happens. It's the only planet capable of being terraformed, and the UEE moved in and made that happen under a military commission. The goal and result was that Borea turned into a large naval base and is where the majority of the UEE's ship construction took place. Now, if you remember me saying that most of this actually happens in the Killian system, you're right. As far back as about 50 years ago, that's when they were building on Borea. But that's when they moved locations. 50 years ago, they moved it over to Killian. And as the military pulled out, so did a large majority of the money, and when the economy crashed, a lot of people left for greener pastures. After this point, solar flares ravaged Borea for about 10 years, which helped turn the planet into a desert-like environment, and between those flares and the dust storms, Borea's UEE buildings that had mostly been abandoned to this point got worn down, which really made this planet look like an old western ghost town with a population of only about 3,000 people. Around 200 years later, though, the military classification on this system was lifted, and other colonists began the process of moving in. Based on the reputation of the system, the group that did move in was a bunch of kind of pioneers and outbacks, people that were ready for a hard time, or those types of people that weren't really welcome anywhere else. The environment became very much a devil-may-care, anything-goes type of situation, and the law didn't really seem to care in this frontier of a system. Recently, though, things have improved to some extent with Borea catering to tourists, that are kind of just interested in this lawless place. And while it's still a very dangerous place indeed, it's a little bit safer, but it's still not safe. For example, there was just a assassination attempt on the entirety of the planet's government population, leading them to completely shut down the spaceport in the capital city of Newcastle. As such, the only landing site on this planet at the moment is the city of Odessa, which is where the UEE's old shipbuilding city was. Now, this is actually the home to Drake Interplanetary, where they are pumping out various ships and have begun to really start modernizing this city. Gangs are a problem in Odessa. The third and final planet here is Magnus 3, and it's a super Jupiter gas giant. It's just a big, colorful ball of gas, but it's so far from the star, it's just not a very popular place. And we've talked about in the past about how gas giants are being used for refueling, but considering it's not even close to jump points, that's pretty rare at this point too. There's been rumors about this planet being a famous meeting spot for pirates, and while it's been unconfirmed to this point, the system's shady reputation and the known number of pirates, and generally bad dudes, kind of seems to lead a certain level of credibility to this claim. This system has 3 jump points leading to Terra, Ellis, and Stanton. But okay, so we're in this small little rundown system. So what is this place good for? Well, I've got some ideas. Piracy. This, more than any other system to me, says piracy, at least of the ones that we've covered, and that's for a couple reasons. So if you're looking for a place for you and your pirate crew to set up, here's why. Drake is located here. So if you're utilizing the Cutlass, the Herald, the Caterpillar, or whatever the new pirate fighter ends up being called, it's currently under the name Buccaneer, if you're using those in your piracy operations, you have close access to parts to repair your ships, which is going to limit your cost and maximize your profits. The lawless atmosphere in the system also is a good thing for you, because if no one cares that you're wanted, at least of the people that are in a position of power, you have a lot less to worry about when you're flying around in your home. And finally, location, location, location. This system is smack dab in the middle of 3 high-income systems. Terra is a well-to-do place that we'll probably cover in the next episode. Ellis is going to be a really popular system and a massive trade lane that we talked about in the last video. And Stanton is also the home to a shipbuilder, ArcCorp, and a booming economy. So if you want a place to be able to jump to another system, conduct your piracy, and come back to safety, this place is damn near perfect. Outside of piracy, there's the flip side of that same coin, and that's with bounty hunting. Odessa is a place with gangs running rampant and is a place where people are selling illegal goods. Pirates are obviously welcome here. So if you want to be able to come into a system, collect some bad guys, and go trade them out for some money, there's going to be plenty for your choosing here in Magnus. I also see this as a decent opportunity here with Magnus 3, kind of as an untapped resource. If it's not close enough to jump points to really be used effectively for refueling, you could then take a Starfarer out there, collect your fuel, and come back and sell it off at a higher price in the heart of the system, or potentially even setting up shop near a jump point. That would probably be best suited to having escorts, of course. So the system is small, but I think it's a pretty interesting place, and I think it's going to be a dodgy place for all parties involved, but I think it's going to be a fun system. So that's it for this one. Stay tuned for our next journey through the star map. Have yourselves a wonderful day, and take care.